Solano County's huge. We're almost 500,000 people, 430,000. And then Napa's a little bit smaller. We're 80,000 in population there.
I know Napa pretty well. I don't know Fairfield all that well, but I'm assuming there's a pretty dramatic difference in average sales price.
Yeah, very much so, which is funny because we're 10 minutes away from Napa here in Fairfield, and you can get the same house for half the price.
Yeah, so that presents an interesting opportunity for you, right?
Sure.
And so average sales price in those two markets?
So average sales price in Solano County is 430, and then in Napa it's 745.
Wow.
So big difference there.
No kidding.
And we're very lucky. We're servicing the number one housing market in America right now, Vallejo, California. So it's really, really fun.
That is so cool. But it's because you've been in the business so long. Oh wait, actually that's not entirely true. How long have you been in real estate?
April 2014.
Yeah.
So I just had my 3-year young birthday in real estate.
Seriously? I've owned this microphone longer than you've been in the real estate business. That is unbelievable to me. So what is it that you did that so uniquely prepared you to get into this exciting business called real estate?
So I got into real estate to start a team. I started thinking about the team concept before the team concept was sexy and cool and fun.
Cool.
And now it's a big hot topic in the associations, national, California. And I previously worked in Silicon Valley startups. So I got the opportunity to see a lot of culture, a lot of the way that executives embrace culture and make their companies successful by building around that culture. So I got into real estate to not only help the consumer, but to also help my team members to build an elite team of people who really want to service the consumer at a higher level and raise the standards and the expectations in our industry.
Wow. I love that answer. I love that answer more than you know. I've never heard that before. You would absolutely have been, I mean, it's not a foregone conclusion just because somebody's in Silicon Valley that they're going to have phenomenal culture. But if you were exposed to that kind of thought leadership and what that looks like, and then you saw the bridge, and I'm assuming did you have a personal experience? Did you know somebody in real estate? Like what created that interest for you to even get into real estate?
Yeah, when we moved up here, which is about 50 miles from Silicon Valley, when we moved up to the Napa Valley area, I looked for a similar job, and I wasn't able to find what I was looking for that made me happy. And so I said, well, I'm an innovator, I'm an entrepreneur, let me create a job. Let me figure out what industry that I can really go into that is going to make me happy, and I can put my, stamp on it and make a big difference.
Yeah.
My husband and I had bought and sold 4 homes in 3 years, just because we had traveled, and we had horrible experiences with lenders and realtors, and I just really wanted the consumer to have a different experience.
So cool. I love that, and I feel like I've kind of tapped into you early on in your trajectory, and I look forward to hearing a lot more from you as time goes on, because really that experience of yours, that personal experience, and then your training, not only your education, you went to school in Georgia, right?
University of Georgia, go Dogs.
Nice. And graduated cum laude, so this is not like, I kind of squeaked through, like you rocked it. Then Silicon Valley, then your personal experiences in real estate. I love that perfect storm that creates that mindset for you that says it can be done a better way. And no doubt, I've been around this business 30 years. There's absolutely no doubt that it can be done better. So good for you. So when you step back, Nicole, and it's hard to do for all of us, I think, to be objective about our personal attributes and our strengths and the things that we do well. But I'm just going to ask you to call it out. If there was a strength or a mindset or the way that you kind of approach life and business that you consider to be unique, what would you point to that you would say, yeah, that really helps to make me successful?
Yeah. Again, I got into the business to help give the consumer a better choice and to also help other people. And so I live by a few philosophies in life and in business. And one of them is Buffini perfected the way that I felt, and it's what you give away in slices, you get back in loaves. Nice. I live by that. I definitely want to give away my slices, and I feel like it's just good karma what I get back.
Yeah.
I also live by the philosophy of I never do anything that I wouldn't want my mom seeing me do. It just keeps me in line. I grew up in a large household with a lot of brothers and sisters, and my mom kept us all in line. And
For those of you that are young right now and you're listening to Nicole, that's what you want to instill in your kids, right?
Mm,
Like, well played,
absolutely.
mama. I love that.
I
Love
do. And
that.
I have 3 boys myself, and I keep them in line and
As
still.
well you should. I love that you're doing that. That's way cool. So okay, it's as we record this, it's 2017. It is a crazy time in the real estate business. Inventory levels are low everywhere.
Mhm.
In some markets, as we heard from Larry Kendall, our last interview actually, talking about dual markets in Fort Collins, Colorado, and probably
Mhm.
not as true in Napa per se, but I want you to speak to it. He spoke to this truth that in many markets you can sell in a seller's market and then buy in a buyer's market, meaning where the competition is, right? You want to have your listing because that's obviously the way that it's going to go quickly, as I know you're going to tell me about in a moment in terms of your strategy. But then if you move up, may not be true in Napa, but it might be more true in Fairfield. If you move up, there should be less competition, but you're in a crazy market. So I don't know. Speak to me about that. Is that reality or not?
Yeah, it's definitely reality in Solano County.
Yeah.
So Vallejo, Fairfield, Vacaville, that's the cities that are encompassing in that almost 500,000 people that we call Solano County.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely true here. You get to that tipping point of 500,000. Our jumbo here is in the 400s. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we definitely hit that tipping point where it becomes more of a buyer's market at that price point.
Very cool. Okay, so lead generation. Let's talk a little bit about leads. You've only been in the business 3 years. It would be difficult for you to have a huge database and kind of work it that way. So talk to me a little bit about where your leads come from and your strategy for lead gen.
So when I first started in the business, I went to all the people that I thought were doing a good job in the marketplace and said, "How are you doing this? You're so awesome and amazing." And everybody's answer was pretty uniform, that repeat business, referrals, work your sphere of influence. Well, my sphere of influence was in Silicon Valley, and I didn't have referrals because I had no business. So I had to go out there and figure it out myself. And I just went back to my sales 101, door knocking. I did business to business, but I mean, it's the same concept, business
Sure.
to consumer. Going out there and door knocking. I would do 4 or 5 open houses a week at minimum. I was out there. It was a branding thing. I'd have my signs. I'd have 15, 16 open house signs when I did the open houses. And then quickly it became that snowball effect, right? Where all of a sudden I have 24 escrows and no transaction coordinator, and I'm freaking out.
Oh man. Wow. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that. When you say 4 to 5 open houses a week, you've got to know that. Well, let me segue out and come back to that. The vast majority of the people that are ever going to see this interview are top agents, or they probably wouldn't be getting it. These are loan originators who circulate these for the most part, who do well, and they would approach somebody like you, right? They would say, "Hey, Nicole, check this out. This is an awesome interview. It's really going to shake up the way that you think about, in this case, open houses." So now coming back, I want you to understand we're not talking to brand new agents or agents that don't do much volume, but most agents are going to think brokers open, whatever day of the week that is, and then the weekend, right? So how is a girl doing 4 or 5 open houses a week?
Yeah, so there's so much more to it than that. Broker
Yeah.
Open is great. It's great for branding. I'm big on peer-to-peer influence. When I write an offer on a listing, I want that agent to think, "Gosh, I want to work with Nicole. She's
Totally.
awesome."
Yeah.
And vice versa. When they have buyers, I want them to be steered towards our listings because I'm the listing agent.
Yeah.
So broker opens are awesome. Aside from that, everybody does Saturday and Sunday 11 to 2, 1 to 3.
Right.
You're competing against 6 or 7 other agents in a neighborhood
Yeah.
to try to convert a buyer that comes through.
Yeah.
So I went outside of the box. I did twilight open houses, happy hour open houses, and what I called Wacky Wednesdays. Here in Solano County, school gets out at noon on Wednesdays. So you have all of these moms and nannies and everybody picking their kids up at noon on Wednesdays. So why not do an open house from 11 to 2 on Wednesdays and capture
Beautiful.
all that traffic?
Such a cool idea. Wacky Wednesdays, is that what they are?
Wednesday.
I love
And
that.
I picked up a lot of business from my Wacky Wednesdays. You put a sign right there in front of the elementary school, open
Yeah.
house way, and you get a ton of traffic.
Such a cool idea. I'm guessing a lot of black, shiny SUVs pulling up in front of the open houses, right?
Exactly.
Okay, very cool. Wow, that is so cool. I'm processing it, and it's such a cool thing. So in my questionnaire ahead of time, I always ask how many people in your database, and you would understand what my question is. It was what your question was, right? When you were first talking to agents, You answered the question differently. So tell me what that means to you. When I ask you about your database, who's in it and how many are they? And yeah, unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, I can't remember the number I put on the questionnaire directly. I think it was
4291.
I was going to say 4,291, I believe is what it is as
Yeah.
of when I answered that.
Yeah.
And we work our database, the team as a whole. When you come on board, you upload your sphere of influence, you work that sphere. We also have constant leads coming in. And until we can't qualify a lead, essentially bad phone number, bad email, and it says Joe Blow on, the name, it's
Right.
really not good. We trash it. But other than that, every single one of those 4,291 leads are opportunities, whether it's an opportunity for business right now, an opportunity for a referral, or an opportunity for a business in 3 years from now.
Yeah.
And so we're always working that database. And we even have what we call the fishing pond. So if an agent has 300 leads in their database, which is overwhelming, we want to get it down to like that 100, 150 mark.
Yeah.
Those additional ones, we go through and filter their database, and we throw all the ones that are a little bit colder or maybe not be ready to buy for a year or two, and we put them in the fishing pond. So that when interns come on or new agents come on, we can immediately dump 200 or 300 leads into their database to start calling on.
The fishing pond. I love that. That's so cool. I love your creativity with this. So you're such a contrarian, Nicole, with the way that you approach the business, the way that you entered the business, everything that you do. I just want to shake it up a little bit because I think people are hearing what you're talking about. But when you talk about 4,291 leads, you have to know there are people that have been in the business 10, 20, 30 years, and their view, their view of online leads, like there's some other kind of human beings, right?
It's an alien.
Right, they're aliens, yeah. Online leads is that, they're flaky, they take forever to convert. And so for somebody who has, you have the street credentials to be able to say, actually, this can work, and it can work in a big way. I just want to know, how do you view an online lead? What does that even mean to you? Do you categorize it differently? Do you even call them online leads? Let's start there. What do you call them?
A lead is a lead.
Cool.
The reality is the consumer starts their search online now. This isn't 10, 15 years ago when you had to go down to the MLS and open the 3-ring binder and look at what's available.
Right.
Everybody is on their smartphone.
Yep.
People wake up 6 o'clock in the morning before they get their coffee. They immediately turn on their phones and they open up their insert real estate app here if they're searching for a home.
Yep.
So everybody's starting their search online. So I think that online leads are the most ready to buy leads that you can get. There's a lot of people who come through open houses that are just looky-loos or saw the signs or are bored or on their way to brunch.
Sure.
I think online leads are more ready to buy. Once they take that step to download the app on their phone or to go on to www.realestatewebsite.com, they're ready. They're looking.
I love that. So once again, you turn the sort of traditional perception on its ear. You flip it 180 degrees, and I get it because like we just bought a ridiculously expensive refrigerator, and that whole process, that's sexy, right? But that whole process started online, and why would it be any different? We do it with cars, we do it with luggage, we do it with everything. Why would real estate be any different? So what I hear you saying is that's actually a higher degree of commitment at that point that they begin to look. How do you begin that engagement process? I know you use Commissions Inc. Maybe you can talk to us a little bit about just I want people to be able to kind of picture your process. Like they come in, they're into the database. Right. Talk to me about that process.
I think the first touch is actually passive. So probably similar to when you bought your refrigerator, the first thing you did is you decided what kind of refrigerator you wanted, and then you started looking at reviews of refrigerators. Totally. What's the best refrigerator I can get for my budget? And that's what consumers are doing when they start their home search too. Who's the best real estate agent out there that's really going to hone in on what I'm looking for? As a first-time home buyer, that hand-holding process, explaining, as a luxury agent, being able to get you those $1 million off-market listings, whatever it is. So the first touch of converting is passive. It's a branding thing. You have to have reviews online. You have to have your picture up there. Nobody wants to work at Remax, and our default picture is if we don't have our headshot as a balloon. Nobody wants to work with a balloon head. You've got to have branding out there, and that's the first touch. So when you take the next step and actually register and go into our Commissions Inc. website, we hit them personally, and we also put them on a drip.
Nice.
So what I like about Commissions Inc. is when they register, they're asked one simple question, and that question puts them into one of 4 categories. Anybody that's familiar with the DISC profile, it puts them in as a D, an I, an S, or a C. And based on their personality from answering that one question, it gives them the appropriate drip. So someone who's interested in schools and information, they're going to be on that I drip. Someone who's looking for hot, fast deals is going to be on that D drip. And it's really catered to that particular person. Also, the second they enter into our database, we're on the phone with them. And I don't care if it's 1 a.m., 2 a.m. If they're entering into our database at 1 a.m., there's a reason for that. They're up, they're awake. Don't be afraid to shoot them a text. Hey, I saw you just registered. So many agents are like, but it's 2 a.m. I'm like, but well, maybe they work swing shift and you're awake at 2 a.m. Why not?
It's a great point. It's a great point. And you have agents on your team that you're training to do this, obviously, right? It's not just your individual efforts. Yeah. So on the DISC question, forgive me, but I have to physically do this. Like, are you kidding me? That's brilliant. It is brilliant. If you have a first point of differentiation in terms of a behavioral style, and you can start down that track and create a drip based around that, like, that's really good. Is that yours uniquely, or is that part of Commissions Inc.?
It's part of Commissions Inc., but I've been a huge fan of psychology tests. That's my degree, actually, degree in psychology and personality tests. And I love the disc for how simple it is.
Oh my goodness, totally.
It's super simple, and really, it gives us insight when we call that lead too. So believe it or not, I'm a DD, high D here. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but if someone calls me,
it makes you very successful, is what it does. Yeah.
If I were a consumer looking for a home and an agent called me and started asking me a ton of questions and inundating me with information, I would be frustrated.
Totally.
So it gives us insight to understanding when we do call that lead too, what they're looking for. I want quick and dirty. Give me the information. Give me the best deals. Tell me what's on the market and get me out for looking at homes.
Quick, short, succinct. Yep. Mm-hmm. So smart. So cool, Nicole. Gosh, that was going to lead me to another question, which is not on my list here. Forgive me. As I look off camera at my list, I was thinking about something that you said in there. Oh, reviews. So I do a little program I call 5 Stars Matter, and it's based on what you just said. And there's a lot of agents that just don't see it. They either haven't bought into that yet, or they feel like they're going to work with their own sphere, and that doesn't really matter to them. And they're going to be gone, so it doesn't really matter, right? I say that with all due respect. But if you were talking to somebody right now who heard you and said, you know what, I need to do a better job of being deliberate about building my reviews, what would you tell them? What's the approach that you've taken, and where do you focus? I mean, is it Yelp and Zillow and Google and Redfin, or what do you focus on?
Yeah, I think they're all important because you never know where the consumer is going to start their search. So you need to have 5-star reviews on every website that you do. And I'm very proactive in getting reviews. As soon as we close escrow, I ask for that review. I send up a follow-up email, and I give them the list of websites that I'd like them to review me on. And usually the consumer, I give them 5 websites, and they'll usually click the first 2 and copy and paste their review, which is great.
Yeah.
But you have to be proactive. No one's going to go online out of the kindness of their heart after the close of escrow and give you a 5-star review. You have to let them know how important it is.
Sure.
I build my business off of referrals. I build my business off of these reviews. If you could just take 2 minutes and do me a favor and review me, it's super important to helping me build my business.
Okay, so you have a psych background. If you're going to engage the law of reciprocity, are you asking when they're the happiest?
Yeah, I usually touch along the whole time. So when we initially engage, we do our smart home buying method with buyers, and then we do a listing consultation with sellers. And as I'm talking to them about, and oh, by the way, here's my reviews. By the way, when we close escrow, I'd really appreciate a 5-star review. So I'm hammering it in along the way.
It's great.
And then when we get into contract, yay, congrats guys, we're in contract. Go ahead and take a second if you want to review me now or close the escrow, just constantly hammering it in that it's important because we get a lot of from reviews. When you're looking to buy your refrigerator, again, you narrowed it down probably based on consumer reports and online reviews.
Yeah, I actually subscribed to Consumer Reports for that specific purchase, right? It's like I want to see as much as I can. This is $3,000 for a refrigerator. I want to know who loves it and why. And by the way, we eliminated a lot for bad reviews, right? Like, yeah, it's noisy. You hear the ice dripping. It's not good. So love that you're doing it. What I hear from you, Nicole, that I don't hear enough of is you set the expectation up front. You continue to communicate it through the transaction, and then you kind of bring it home as a logical conclusion. Like we've been talking about this the whole time. We really appreciate it, right?
Yeah.
So good. Okay, so I'm skipping ahead because you've already answered some of these questions, but I am curious when you're representing a buyer, and I realize you primarily focus on listings. And what's that quote, by the way, that you had somebody that you were quoting on the East Coast about listings?
Marty Hampton, who's awesome. I love Marty. She says, when you can control the inventory, you control the market. And it's so true.
Totally. Bam. Particularly in this market, but it's true in every market. I've watched this for 30 years. I've watched this from when you were talking about the 3-ring binders, right, with the MLS books. I mean, seriously, it's how we sold real estate. And it was always the listing agents, right? Always. You're the one that has the cans of beans on the shelf, and all the other agents in your market are your sales force. I mean, that's how it works. So it's a beautiful thing about real estate. All of that said, though, when you represent the buyer or you're coaching one of your agents who has a buyer, how do you help to make your offer the most attractive in a multiple offer situation?
Right. I've actually honed in on this pretty well. In multiple offer situations, for example, just yesterday, we got our offer accepted. We were $10,000 less than the highest bidder. And it came down to working with our team, working with our process, making sure that we presented the listing agent with the package up front. As a listing agent, I know what to look for.
Yeah.
I'm here to protect my sellers and to make sure that the sellers don't go back on market or
Sure.
don't have a long agonizing close. So I'm vetting the lender as the listing agent. So when I write an offer, I'm making sure that my lender calls the listing agent and says, hey, I'm Joe from 123mortgage.com. I want you to know that the buyer is fully approved. We have DU approval. Here are their FICOs. We're going to get this deal done. We can actually close in 17 days. And some of our lenders, which is a pretty awesome program, is that they have guaranteed close on time. And if they don't, they pay the seller $1,000.
Right. Love that. You know what? That's what it takes right now, right? If it's not a cash deal, and I'm sure you have those, at the end of the day, it's going to involve a team effort. And I love to hear that, right? Because I'm all about the connectivity between the lender and the realtor, and performing at a high level like that in a multiple offer environment that's the highest level that you can play at right now. So well done. When you think about your systems in general, and I don't mean a specific one, but when you think about the things that you do well in terms of your operation, having closed how many units again last year?
191.
It's a real big number for your third year in the business, right?
We didn't quite get to 200. I was a little disappointed.
Holy cow! Celebrate, absolutely. But I mean, you're moving a lot of units. I realize you're working with families, and I don't mean to diminish that. But if we just think in terms of files and units, right, moving down sort of a conveyor belt, that's a lot of units. What is it when you think in terms of systems that makes the biggest difference for you?
Yeah, again, communication up front with home buyers and home sellers, setting the expectation of here's how the process works, because the last thing you want to do is triage.
Totally.
You want to be ahead of the problem.
Yep.
You have a solution for the problem before it even comes up.
Yeah.
So communicating to the consumer and also your partners and your transaction coordinator and having everybody on the same page from the get-go is super important.
So good. So good. I love that you're a D because I can almost predict the length of time that you're going to take to answer questions. A high I could go for 23 minutes on one question, right? So I love the staccato that you communicate with. Where's this thing taking you? Where do you see yourself 3 years from now, 5 years from now? Where's it going?
Yeah. So my goal for the end of this year is to be a non-producing team leader. So I don't want to continue to sell real estate. I want to stay relevant. I'm huge on education. I have my GRI. I'm a broker associate now. As soon as I was eligible to be a broker, I had to take it to the next level. I'm CRS. I'm highly involved with the local associations, the California associations. I'm a big supporter of the associations. So I want to stay relevant, but my goal is to be that team leader and to take everyone on my team and make them top producers and be a better choice for the consumer and have everyone on my team literally meet or exceed their goals. So projections, by 2019, we want to be a $500 million team.
Awesome.
That's billion with a B.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, you're in the right market to do it, and creating what you're creating right now. The funny thing is, Nicole, and you see this, people ask me all the time with these interviews, because probably the third interview I did was with a woman named Valerie Fitzgerald in Beverly Hills. She was with Rodeo Realty at the time. I think she was a former Eileen Ford model, and back then I would actually travel with a box that was a cassette player, right, with two microphones. So I put one on her and put one on me, and we're sitting in the conference table. Yeah. And I don't remember the numbers, but I think somebody had said, she had done like 50 million, right? And it was like, ooh, big number. And then I realized she sold like 8 houses. And so the problem was, this isn't going to play in Peoria. Somebody that listens to this interview in Wichita is going to be like, so I have to sell 325 double wides to hit that number, right? So it's when I learned units are units, right? And the fact that you're doing what you're doing in a market where it's easy for a realtor to sort of hit a ceiling, a self-imposed ceiling that, I'm doing pretty well. I'm making a good living now, and that's fine. I don't mean to judge that, but I love your hunger for efficiency and culture and focusing on the consumer. And can I just say, Mama will be proud when she knows, and she probably already does, that you not only want to serve your team, but you want to serve your community and the greater community of the real estate community. The fact that you're a CRS and that you're involved locally at your age, which I'm assuming is like
30.
Younger than me. How old are you?
30.
Okay, at 30 is phenomenal, because you're going to help to shape the real estate industry moving forward. So I love that you don't just have a selfish focus on what you can build and what you can take from this. You're giving back, and that means a lot to me. So on behalf of the real estate industry, I want to thank you for your attitude, and I want to thank you for sharing today, Nicole.